Begins in the Vallejo Industrial Zone in Mexico City, where John Creasy leads a private CIA-linked security mission. The operation quickly turns into a massacre when armed men in black storm the building, executing Creasy's team one by one. Creasy narrowly escapes, the sole survivor of the ambush. 4 years later, Creasy lives alone, haunted by the memory of that day. He wakes from recurring nightmares, ripping off a black hood similar to the ones used on his teammates before they were killed. His life has become routine and empty, working at a distribution center, drinking heavily, and relying on medication to cope with anxiety and insomnia caused by his trauma. Reaching a breaking point, Creasy attempts to end his life by crashing his car into a brick wall, but survives. In the hospital, he is visited by Paul Rayburn, a former Special Forces colleague. Rayburn offers him a chance to start over in Rio de Janeiro, where he has a new job and can help Creasy get back into the field. Creasy reluctantly agrees and travels to Brazil. There, he meets Rayburn's family, including his teenage daughter Poe. Rayburn explains that he's working a contract tied to national security, as authorities fear a terrorist attack ahead of an election. Their assignment involves protecting new luxury developments connected to President Carmo, believed to be potential targets. At a construction site, Creasy meets Prado Suarez, the president's head of security. During a test of his readiness, Creasy struggles under pressure and fails to properly handle a firearm while being attacked. Despite this, Rayburn insists on Creasy's value, forcing Suarez to accept him onto the team. That evening, Creasy tells Rayburn he wants no part in the job, but Rayburn refuses to give up on him. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a group of men prepare explosive devices, loading them into white vans. A motorcyclist arrives, claiming to guide them on behalf of someone named Ferraz. Later, Creasy, drunk, calls a car service and meets driver Valeria Mello. On the way, he stops near an abandoned church, where 2 men attempt to rob him. Creasy violently fights back, nearly killing one before Mello intervenes. He asks her to take him somewhere to sober up. At the same time, Poe sneaks out to attend a party. After falling asleep, she rushes to head home before her father notices. While riding back, she encounters white vans and a motorcyclist at an intersection, briefly seeing the rider's face. As Poe nears home, Rayburn calls her, revealing he knows she left. She spots him waiting outside the condo. Suddenly, a massive explosion destroys the building, killing nearly everyone inside. Poe survives only because she was outside. Creasy sees the smoke and rushes to the scene. By morning, Rio is in mourning. Rayburn, his wife, and their sons are confirmed dead. Poe, the only witness, is in shock. Suarez informs Creasy that a group called the FRP has claimed responsibility and may be planning further attacks. Creasy meets Poe and instructs her to remain silent until he says otherwise. He arranges with Suarez and President Carmo to secure her safety and send her back to the United States, where she will give her statement at the U.S. consulate. Though offered a way out, Creasy refuses to leave. He declares he will stay until those responsible are dead. Armed for protection, he takes Poe to a secure location for the night. Elsewhere, a man named Osmar studies detailed files on Creasy and Poe, preparing what appears to be an ambush. Meanwhile, Creasy trains in the room, placing a pillowcase over his head to recreate his trauma. He methodically reassembles a gun and aims it forward, while Poe watches him in stunned silence. Next morning, Poe prepares for her interview at the U.S. Embassy, visibly shaken by everything she's endured. Creasy pushes her to suppress her emotions and focus on recalling details logically, treating the murder of her family like a puzzle that needs to be solved. At the same time, he struggles with the fact that forcing her to relive it may cause her more pain. As Creasy and Poe are escorted by Sora's men toward the embassy, they are suddenly ambushed by attackers working for Osmar. Reacting quickly, Creasy orders the convoy to divert to the nearest military base and hangar, forcing the attackers to retreat. The ambush convinces Creasy that someone within the operation is leaking information. He refuses to let Suarez or anyone else question Poe, insisting on handling it himself. Though reluctant, Suarez agrees to give him control. Creasy's approach is intense. He guides Poe through her memories step by step, forcing her to relive the night of the explosion. Through this, she recalls key details: the two white vans approaching the condo, and more importantly, the face of the motorcyclist she saw. The emotional strain becomes too much, and Poe breaks down. Creasy, caught off guard, allows her space instead of pushing further. Impressed by the results, Suarez agrees to continue working with Creasy, though he worries that giving him purpose again might also bring back his more dangerous instincts. Meanwhile, arrangements are made for Poe to leave Brazil on a private jet. Although she wants to stay with Creasy, he convinces her to go. Just as she prepares to board, Osmar's men attack again. A firefight breaks out, and Creasy manages to capture one of the attackers, Tiago. He escapes the scene with Poe in a stolen car. Elsewhere, Valeria Mello deals with her own struggles. Her daughter has emotionally shut down following the murder of Mello's husband. Gabby urges Mello to leave Brazil for safety. When Creasy calls asking for help, Mello agrees, but only if he helps secure relocation for her and her daughter to the United States. Creasy also contacts his former CIA superior, Tappan, the man who authorized the mission that cost his team their lives. Tappan agrees to provide resources, including money, protection, and a plane for Poe. Mello takes Creasy and Poe to a favela, where they hide out with help from her cousin in the local police. Inside the safe house, Poe notices a chess set and recalls how Rayburn used to teach her, comparing life to a chess game. Creasy reveals that he was the one who originally taught Rayburn, sharing a rare, quiet moment. Poe begins asking questions about Tiago and what Creasy plans to do. He doesn't hide the truth. He intends to use harsh methods to get answers. While this happens, Mello bonds with Poe, seeing similarities between her and her own daughter. The two connect over food and their shared sense of isolation. During interrogation, Tiago quickly gives in. He reveals that he and his group are just local gang members hired for the job. The real orchestrator is Osmar, a member of the extremist group FRP. Tiago also confirms that Osmar somehow knew Creasy would reroute to the military hangar, reinforcing the suspicion of an internal leak. At the same time, the CIA reaches out to the Brazilian government to support Creasy. However, President Carmo distrusts him, viewing him as unpredictable and dangerous. Concerned about political fallout, he hesitates to offer full cooperation. Meanwhile, Creasy devises a plan to use Tiago to track down Osmar. However, executing it will require Poe's involvement. Mello photographs Creasy and Poe staged as if they are dead, part of a plan meant to mislead their enemies. The act unsettles her, while Poe presses Creasy for answers. He explains that Tappan has arranged an extraction team to get her out of Brazil by midnight. Poe resists the idea of leaving him behind, but Creasy assures her she'll be safe at the hideout with Mello. To secure his plan, Creasy implants a small remote explosive under Tiago's skin, ensuring compliance. Tiago points out that while he was forced into gang life, Creasy chose violence. Creasy offers no argument. Mello leaves to check on her daughter, asking her cousin Beto to guard Poe. However, Beto is distracted by a gang conflict and instead assigns the job to his younger brother Livro, who lacks experience and dislikes violence. Despite warnings from Vico, Beto insists Livro needs to toughen up. Livro and Poe connect quickly, both carrying the weight of loss. Livro reveals how Beto once cared for him but now resents him for being different. Meanwhile, Creasy receives funds from a CIA contact, who also reveals that the extremist group FRP is attempting to influence the upcoming election. Their leader, Ferraz, remains imprisoned. Using the staged photos, Tiago contacts Osmar through a warehouse intercom. Osmar instructs him to get a burner phone and wait, but Creasy forces the situation, pushing Tiago inside the warehouse. Tiago turns on him and Creasy kills him, exposing his presence to others inside. He narrowly escapes. Back at the safe house, Poe grows restless and convinces Livro to take her out briefly. They talk about books and chess, sharing a quiet moment until Vico confronts them. He threatens Poe with a knife, claiming he's testing Livro, though his actions suggest otherwise. Afterward, Poe calls Creasy, frightened and asking him to return. In his rush, Creasy drops Mello's card at a mobile shop, but cuts the call short when Osmar contacts the burner phone.